Well, here I am again at the Casey Riverwalk, taking some time off from work, getting out of the studio, and I know the hat doesn't fit, but it's sprinkling, and so I thought I'd throw that on there, keep my head dry. And the way things are here today, the whole area has been flooded severely, so you can see out there, there's silt everywhere, all over everything. You could say it's a result of climate change. I suppose this river's been rising in an unprecedented way lately, and coming way, way, way up over the banks. I like coming out here as much as I can because it's quiet, and there's no culture, there's no technology, and it's calming. It's good exercise too to walk around. But also, while I'm out here, you may be able to hear it, but there's also a hum in the background of the highway. So it's kind of like sending a message that, you may come out here and you're trying to return to your Garden of Eden, but you're going to have that hum in the background reminding you, as if you can't escape that. And so anyway, I walk a mile or so or more, depending, and I come back. A lot of times I'll turn around here, the Green Frog, and kind of the cartoony thing, the eyes smudged together, blended together. What I find kind of interesting about this in a symbolic way is that the frog, of course, is an animal, it's nature, and its mouth is open, and it serves a function to eat our garbage. So it's kind of telling. What else can I run my mouth about? I'm in a pretty good mood today, so I'm not really up in arms about much of anything. Of course, we got the elections going on and all that stuff, and people are getting very upset about Trump, or they love him. And I've heard a lot of people talking about, the Trumpers and what's the matter with them, and how they can't be reached, and there's, they're fascists and Nazis and all white supremacists and all this other stuff. And what's the matter with them, and basically they're saying the same thing. It's like, what's the matter with them? So my feeling about it is that those people are in a sense doing it because they're taking a side, that side, because it's an easy way to define themselves. Not really so much that they may identify with all those arguments and positions, because if you had a calm discussion about them, they would say, well, no, I don't really agree with all that. But because there's this polarity between political parties, which is basically sort of all we have left anymore in a way, they say, well, they might, well, I'm really not sure where I stand on all these complicated issues, but I know I'm not them. So in a sense, it's defining oneself in opposition to someone else. So I don't know who I am, but I know I'm not them. So it's defining by opposition, which is, oh, the rain's coming down again, which is really basically saying you don't know who you are to begin with. So anyway, you could take a moral position about any of these issues that are going on right now, like, the border wall, children being detained, people dying in camps and things like that. And that is actually happening. Oh shit, it's slippery. But what was I saying? Almost bust my ass there. I had an accident out here once on a bicycle, almost broke my shoulder. But yeah, so define yourself by who you're not. I'm not them. And then the other side, that thinks themselves to be good and better and more concerned about the working people and all that. Well, when they react to the Trumpers' aggression and judgment with their own aggression and judgment, they're defining themselves in opposition. So in a sense, it's two sides of the same coin, and it's not that one side's any better than the other. It's more complex than that. So what we have in politics and a lot of other areas is when you boil stuff down to a slogan, make America great again. Oh, okay, that's make America, 4 words. Couldn't get much more simple than that. But issues are not simple. And the thing about the approaches, whether they're Democrat or Republican, it's like each mindset has certain advantages and aptitudes. And there are things that Republicans are better at than Democrats, and things that Democrats are better at than Republicans. But when one group or another basically tries to say, well, we're just better at everything than you because we can't sit down and talk about it. Well, they're not saying we can't sit down and talk about it, but they're ending the conversation there. We're just simply right. We're simply better than you are, smarter, more expert, and everything else. Whereas if they really sat down and had an honest conversation about anything, any of these issues or all of these issues, then they would have to admit that they have faults and shortcomings. So isn't it better just to have this simplistic identity rather than admit that you made mistakes and have problems? Sure. So that's kind of what's being sold to everyone. I encourage you not to subscribe to it. Well, I got cut off there because the phone rang. But as far as what I was talking about goes, it seems as this identity question of having a manufactured fake identity where you're inerrant and perfect. Not only does it not serve other people, but it doesn't serve yourself either. So the thing to do, I think, and what I do is figure out every mistake you've made. Admit to every mistake. Don't deny that you made mistakes. And figure out how you benefit and how from learning from the mistakes. So, you're not going to die. It's not going to kill you. You might feel some shame, embarrassment. But then again, after you get used to it, after you get used to cataloging and studying your mistakes, you begin to realize what a valuable and a process it is for your own development. So anyway, I'll leave it there. Ciao. This is a new development. I'd seen it before, but I don't know how many acres this is. It's a whole lot, but basically all this got leveled. All the trees got cut down. And a few videos back, there were some guys out measuring the land, and I mentioned that they were doing it so that the owner could, harvest these resources. That's not what they said, but of course, that's what it looks like to them. So it's all going to be turned into 2x4s or something like that. But in the meantime, it's basically a gigantic scar on the world. It's like, but is there a funeral service or anything? Nope, not unless you call this one.